I promise I called this years ago. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Rebecca Parson, who is a far leftist Democratic candidate for U.S. House out there in Washington State, who wants to increase the minimum wage to $30. So we didn't skip right past the proposed $15, which was double to $7.25. We've gone double to $15 to $30. Now, the question is, why so much money? Why not pick a reasonable number? Well, to a far leftist person like Rebecca Parson and to people of her ilk, what's reasonable? Define reasonable. You're not really going to be able to define reasonable. It's kind of like how they feel and what they think is most important based on how they feel. There's not really any logic involved. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see and hear Ms. Parson give her 2 cents on the whole situation. After we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Listen to this. A self-proclaimed Democratic socialist running for Congress in Washington State, that is to say, is demanding a $30 minimum wage. Far-left candidate and squad ally Rebecca Parson calling a $15 minimum wage an antiquated demand, adding, quote, $30 is the floor. As you say your nightly prayers to St. Elon while you fall asleep tonight, reflect on why you punch down on poor people instead of up at your heavenly billionaire.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I'm not surprised at all, not in the least bit. First of all, before I even really dive into it, if you guys have just found this video for the first time, just found me for the first time, check it out. I am against minimum wage, period. There should be no minimum wage. Not on the federal level, not on the state level at all. And the question is why? Why shouldn't there be a minimum wage? Do you want to see people just working for $1 an hour? You want to bring back American sweatshops and whatnot? Well, first of all, we have sweatshops, just not in America. You still buy the stuff. But anyway, I digress. The whole point is people are going to ask me why I don't support minimum wage, period. It's because the market is going to determine what the price of labor is. That's happening right now. See, the federal minimum wage has not risen. It's still $7.25. And when I was a young man, it was like, what? I think it was $5.25. So when I first started back in 2001 working, I know over 20 years ago, when I first started working, I was making $6.25. Nah, pardon me. I made $6.50 and then I went $6.25 because it was an easier job. I was working at this place called Garden Ridge, which is like, they got pots, like, flower pots and garden stuff, big, heavy garden stuff, basically. Bunch of plants and trees and seeds, things of that nature. I went from Garden Ridge to Sam's Club right next door. And you guys know what Sam's Club is. It's a Walmart offshoot, bulk products like Costco. So I made $6.50 at Garden Ridge, $6.25 at Sam's Club. For me, that was a lot of money. I'm 16 years old. This is before my senior year in high school. I'm good. I'm chilling. It was fine for me. But now you got kids who are demanding $30 an hour or at least $15. And the funny part is that they're getting the $15 an hour without the minimum wage going up. So the question is, or you may have, why are kids getting the 15 and more to flip burgers when there's been no rise in the federal minimum wage? Well, the minimum wage only determines the base of what you must pay your hourly employees, with certain exceptions, obviously for wait staff and whatnot. And to talk about waiters and wait staff just for a moment, people say that they should get the regular minimum wage. They make a lot of money in tips, okay? They make plenty of money in tips. The wait staff make the most out of anybody in the house, except for maybe the proprietor. Maybe it depends on if you have a good month or a bad month. But they make really good money, especially if you're in a nice area, a nice restaurant. The tips are what carry you through. And on top of that, you get a wage. But really, I know waitresses that would just take their checks and put it under their bed and not even cash it and just spend their tip money. And then they can kind of finagle it and finesse it with the federales, but that's a different story, and I digress. Let me get back to the minimum wage situation and why the wages have risen without the federal minimum wage going up. It's because of the main thing. You have a lot of money being pumped into the supply, a lot of money being printed. So there's so much cash available that's going to cause inflation, and inflation is going to impact us in many different ways. It's going to impact the things that you buy, things that you want to, okay, you want to get gas, you want to get food, you want to get housing even, you want to buy a house, rent an apartment, rent a house. That's all going to go up. Why? There's so much money out there, and people, when you have a lot of money, a demand for all goods and services and every housing is all going to rise. So with a very high demand, you have to increase the price to be able to meet the demand. If you don't increase the price, you're going to just keep selling out. You're not going to be able to keep up with the demand. So raise the price to keep the demand at a attainable level. Okay. That's called inflation. So now you're going to McDonald's, you're seeing burger flippers getting free cell phones, $15 an hour, all types of stuff, right? Oh, and beyond just the money printing, you also have all the stimulus and whatnot. That was causing a decrease in the supply of labor. So not only is there a lot of inflation going on, there's also a decrease in supply of labor. So to attract labor force back, you got to raise the wages. This is beyond what the federal government is going to do as far as an actual federal minimum wage increase. The market is responding to certain conditions that are in part put upon us by the federal government, but in part are not necessarily put upon us by the federal government. Mostly it's the government printing money, but there's other things that go into it as well. And when you have the wages go down, that's going to be other factors going into it. Maybe the housing market crash and other things going on. You're going to have a decrease in it because people are going to be more likely to go out there and get a job. There's going to be a higher demand for jobs. Right now, there's a lower demand for jobs because of all the free money floating around. That's why the wages have increased. But see, check it out, though. Everything is increased. Wages have increased, but so is your rent. Your wages then went up 100%, but so is your rent. I'm hearing about people saying they live in a spot right now where they're paying, I think, like $1,200 a month for rent, but it's going to go up to $1,800 in the next month. Okay, and if you're trying to buy a house right now, good luck. I bought my house at the perfect time. I have like a 3% or less interest rate, and I bought it for a really good price 2 years ago. Now, 7% rate, and the prices have gone up. So not only is your interest rate going to be much higher, which is going to cause, like, let's say, for example, I bought my house at the same price. I'm not going to say what it was, but let's say I bought my house at the same price that I bought it for in 2020. Now with the current rate, that could cause just my interest alone to more than double. So you're going to have a much higher cost on your mortgage. Okay. On top of that, you're going to have a higher price than 2020 for the actual purchase. So here's some random numbers. I'm not saying this is what I paid. Let's just have random numbers. If I paid $500,000 for my house in 2020, but now the same house is worth $800,000, and the rate went from 3% to 7%, you're going to be paying a lot more money for the same house. So now you need more money to be able to make up for it. You see how that goes? This is why she's saying you need to have $30 an hour. But that's just not the reality of the way things work. If the market can bear $30, it'll pay that naturally without the federal government intervening. This is why I say there is no need for a minimum wage, a federal or a state, because the wages are going up without the federal minimum wage being touched at all. And you know what? If you raise the federal minimum wage, what's going to happen is some of the big corporations may be able to pay it. Even the Walmart, Target, Amazon, they may be able to pay it. But see, here's the thing about that. If you're raising the wages up, what you're going to have is the most skilled and talented people come forward to take those jobs. Okay, so I used to work in the restaurant back in the day for like 5 years when I was in high school, college, like when I was 17 to 22, 21, something like that. But anyway, so if I go work in the same kind of restaurant right now, being almost 40 years old, I'm more dedicated, I'm more skilled, I'm more knowledgeable than a 16-year-old coming straight out of high school trying to get their first job. So if it's between me and the young guy, who's gonna get the job? If you got to pay $40 an hour for that particular position, you understand what I'm saying? You're gonna have a harder time getting into the workforce if there's a higher minimum wage. You're making the ladder to success more difficult to get on. I've already been on a ladder my whole life. I've been on it for a long time. I don't need to climb on it, hop on it, fly on it. But if you are a brand new worker, just now getting into the workforce, how are you going to get to where I'm at? I already had my start. Now you got to start at a disadvantage because of the wages. You don't have the skills or the talent or the experience to be able to demand what I demand. So you're going to be left out. It's going to be like a haves and a have-nots type situation. And if you are a small business, you can't afford to pay $30 an hour, regardless of what you do. So you're going to close up. A whole strip mall might close up, and all that traffic would go to the big corporations, Walmart, Target, Amazon, etc. Okay, that's where everybody orders everything online. When I see the post office lady come around here, as I close, I'm getting long-winded. But when I see her come around here, I see the truck filled with packages. Everybody's ordering online. The same things that probably could have been bought in your local mom and pop shop 30 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, can't because they got all kind of virus restrictions that took them out. The minimum wage is getting crazy because of the conditions that's happening right now in the country, supply chain shortages, all kind of stuff like that. At the end of it, when you raise these wages like this artificially, all you're going to do is artificially empower the large corporations over the very small business. So when you have this lady, Ms. Parson, come out and say, oh, this is for the people, all this, that, and the third, is it for, quote unquote, the people, or is it for her people? Does she have any corporate sponsors? If not, then I can't tell, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about the federal minimum wage being raised to beyond 15, which is not, but to $30 an hour? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. It's a ridiculous thing. There shouldn't be a minimum wage. The government should not be involved with the economics, especially not the way they are. They shouldn't be setting wages. They shouldn't be flooding the market with money. They shouldn't be doing all these things that's really just get in the way of Americans doing commerce with each other and the world. It's really in the way. It's a hindrance, and it's going to create many more sufferers than victors, in my humble opinion. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.